Hi, I'm Chilled Chaos, and this is another episode of Motivational Bullshit. If you enjoyed the first one, great. If you didn't, well, why are you watching the second one? It's the same title. Yeah, dunce. No, but let's talk about something else that probably affects everyone every day. We talked about change, and positive change is good. We discussed that. If you want to become a runner, go ahead, be a runner. If you want to be a flagpole, go ahead, stick your arms up, be a flagpole. Change is possible. But let's talk about when you can't change. What prevents us from not changing? That idea would be power. And not power like, oh shit, I got a V8 engine. Fuck yeah, I got so much power. Power in the terms of philosophy and the general idea behind it. So what exactly is power when you think of power? I think of power as the complete domination of someone else. I have complete power over someone else. I can impose my will and my thoughts and my feelings on that person. That's legitimate power. And that's not good enough to define like that. Niccolo Machiavelli said that power is a complex strategic situation in a given society social setting. Pretty much, if you want true power, you have to control a lot of people. That is the idea of true power. And that's not always good because, when you control a lot of people and you have what they call this true power, bad shit happens, okay? Have you ever seen anyone that has ever had true power and he hasn't gone corrupt and has done his own shit for his own personal benefits? I'm sure any dictator has ultimately had true power and they were corrupt as fuck. What's that guy's name? Harvey Dent, remember? I believe in Harvey Dent. You either live long enough to see yourself become the villain or die a hero. That's the same thing when you give someone true power. That happens. So let's forget the philosophy idea of it. Let's forget about, this whole complex social structure of power, because let's be honest. If there are 10,000 people watching this video, maybe one person's going to go into politics and actually be successful in politics and have actual power over people. So we don't have to worry about that. The power I want to talk about is the power you get from responsibility, from doing your job, from being promoted, that kind of power. And that's the kind of power that makes people worried the most. You ever have like a dictator or a Nazi Gestapo boss? I'm sure we've all had people like that in our life, and it's kind of annoying. It's different when you respect the person and the person is doing well and you respect how their feelings and their judgment, and like you want them to give you advice and influence your life, so you're okay with that. But when you have someone that you don't trust and you think is a complete fuckwad and they have power over you, it's the worst feeling in the world. And how can you get over that? Well, Mark Twain said something. I like Mark Twain. He wrote The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, which is a good American novel. He said, "Spirit has 50 times the strength and staying power of brawn and muscle." Now, brawn and muscle back then is the idea of, fuck, I'm so jacked. You could think of it like that, but it's also the idea of that if you have the intelligence, if you have the mindset, if you have the determination, you'll go farther than anyone else who's just going to use brawn, muscle, raw strength, brute force to push their life along the way. If you can outthink the guy, then you'll be fine. The problem is society doesn't allow that all the time. You have to go up a chain or you have to go down the chain to get where you want to go. And that's what keeps us down. That's what makes us where finding progress becomes very difficult. But that's okay, because if we focus on courage and we focus on our own self-worth, we can dominate and trump the power. And if you ever are in a situation where you have the power, where you have dominance over someone, not like some weird freaky kinky shit, but like dominating as in you're someone's boss, just remember that, they're not out to get you completely, your employees. Your employees may be fuckwads sometimes and then maybe do fuck all, and you have to remind them, hey, we have a job to do. But you gotta remember, if you have control over someone, you can't be an asshole to them. You can't have complete domination of them and just have them bend to your will. That's when the good person becomes the evil person. Oh, see, I made something drop down over my own will. That's when you have the idea of dictatorships going awry, where you try and impose everything you want on the other person, and you can't do that. If you have the power, if you have the ability to sway people, you be careful with it. It's something that it's very deadly if used wrong, because you can have it where you have people who will do anything for you, and they'll want to appease you, and that's not good. You want people to respect you, which is great. Respect is a good thing to have, but it doesn't have to come from the threats of power or the threat of bad shit's gonna happen if I don't follow your ideas or your beliefs. How can you change? Say you don't have the power, say you're trying to get the power, even if you don't want the power, but how can you at least get some of the pie? Well, there really is no quick and easy way to get some of the pie. The first thing you can do is relate back the change from the first episode of Motivational Bullshit. you're gonna have to put yourself on the right track if you want some of that pie. Even if you don't want the power, but you just don't want to be dominated, you got to make the right change. You have to identify what is it in your life that's causing issues for you. What is it that's really making you upset? What's causing the wrongs in your life? And how can you change that? How can you correct that? If you can figure out that source of power that is making you distraught, then that's the change you need. That's the little bit of direction you need to go and veer off and figure out how you can avoid that. You know, just because you're living under someone else's power and just because it's making you miserable doesn't mean that you have to deal with it forever. You know, no one deserves to live their life miserable. And I'm sorry if you're in a country that doesn't allow for you to have independent thought or free thought because you have crazy people and dictators deciding everything, because I really don't believe in that. I believe the idea of human thought, human rights should exist and should be granted to everyone. So if you can't because you'll be killed, that's unfortunate. But if you can't because it's a free society and someone else is trying to grab all the power in the free society, yeah, you can get around that. You can work around that as long as you have the right mindset, the right ideas, and as long as you're willing to make a bit of change. It's not going to be easy because the person who got power, unless it's just complete fucking luck, they got power by doing something else. They either worked for it or it was handed to them by someone else, and it goes down the chain. You either got to find a way to circumvent that chain or ultimately just break the chain. But breaking the chain comes with consequences. Just remember that. You can't break the chain and not have consequences. So the idea of power is often a weird one. It's both philosophical and it's actually physical. And you often have to know whether the power is evil or just. And that's when you want to decide what you want to do. Because with power, it can either go upward or downward. So you just got to be careful with what you do. I don't know where this fucking went. This went really off course. This was not motivation at all. This is more of a like a history type shit. So sorry if you're looking for motivation. All right, you know what? Remember, spirit, courage. That's good shit. That is great shit. Just focus on spirit and courage, and you'll overcome the power. You know, it's hard. Power is just one of those weird things. Change is easy because change requires internal change. Yeah, you gotta do some of the external factors to allow you to do change, but it's mainly internal. If you can convince yourself you want change, you'll reach the change that you want because you can work to your objective. Power, there's that outside overbearing source on you, and unfortunately, you have to circumvent that somehow, and that's a lot complicated. That's almost a radical idea. But again, you only live one life. I fully believe you only live one life. I mean, remember, there are religions, and I don't want to disparage any religions that say, you know, you come after again, you'll expend an eternity in the afterlife. But for me, right now, I'm only sure of one life, and I'm not going to allow someone else that I don't believe has the right authority to overrule me, to where they can influence my every decision. Again, when I trust people, I trust them. If I'm going to trust my parents to do the right thing, I trust them to do the right thing, that they're looking out for my best interest. But if I feel someone is not looking out for my best interest, I'm going to try and circumvent them and go my own way. Because power is a dangerous thing, and allowing someone else that you don't trust to have it can only lead to destruction. I mean, fucking look at our own government right now. If you're living in the US, it gets really tricky. Anyway, thanks for listening. It's been 8 minutes, and I hope that you guys at least understand some of what I'm trying to say. If not, maybe I'll dumb it down. Not really dumb it down. If you guys like this, we'll continue the ideas, but maybe I'll find a more a different topic that can focus on internal change, because power really relies on external change as well, and external change gets fucking messy. That's like revolutions and revolting and that shit. But you just have, as long as you identify the power struggle and the power control and where it's forming from, you should be okay. As long as you just got to identify that, and that's the best thing. Just figure out what is causing you distress and see how you can fix that. You know, and granted, it's going to probably come from someone in authority, so it's hard. But just remember, change is not something that's going to happen overnight, but you can definitely change the direction you are going. I'm Chill Chaos. Thanks for listening to my bullshit, and I will see you guys later.